have, for the most part, your own players on the field right now, don't you? And that'll be good.
Absolutely, Fred. Really, for the first time, I think we've got 13 guys left now from previous regime. Last year, we had 26 seniors, and we're very proud of that. And of the 26 seniors, they'd had 3 different head coaches over a 3-year period. So we felt like we were able to give them a little stability and salvage a good college experience, and we hopefully are ready to take the next step from a competitive standpoint.
You have a lot of players with a lot of experience back. That's also helpful.
Absolutely. Offensively alone, Fred, I think we've got 13 kids that have started 4, 5, or 6 games in their college career, and 6 of them in their offensive line. Also, quarterback Conrad Schottel. It's the first time since I've been here we've had a returning quarterback, and so we do have a good nucleus of returning veterans.
Talk about the offensive line real quick. 4 of the starters have started at least 8 games. Boy, that's key.
It is, and you know, if you've ever guys that have called an offense or watched an offense, if you can hand the football off, it's a pretty good pacifier. You know, it's sometimes young children need that, but as a play caller, it's nice to be able to run the football and control the game by running the football. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do that to some extent here in 2013.
You took that approach really by the horns late in the year, you know, last year, or more so last year than you did. And with a guy like Garrett White back there, that didn't hurt either, did it?
No, Garrett, you know, he was an academic all-district guy, which is a prerequisite to an All-American, but he ran for, I believe, just under 500 or 600 yards from scrimmage. I think he caught footballs for 250, and he also returned kicks at just under 25 yards a kick at 24.7, I think, that led the MIAA. So he's a good weapon to have back there.
You also have a lot of other weapons, don't you?
Well, Dallas Greer certainly is a headliner, and I think last year he caught 81 for just over 1,000 yards, he had the second best season in both those categories in our school's history. I think he's 4th in career receptions to go along with Brett Nagel, a transfer from Northwestern in the Big Ten, and Jared Haferbeer at the receiving, Chico Orlando at tight end. We moved Trey Millender, who's gotten some honorable mention all conference, as a safety, to a running back, and a freshman last year in A.J. Hartfield that we took his red shirt off. So we certainly think we've got some weapons, and we've got some other kids that are pushing for some playing time. Kurt Lloyd, locally here from Mexico, has had an excellent spring and a great off season.
Let's go right back to the running backs for just 1 second. You do have a lot of depth back there, so you can give guys a breather every now and then, and that's nice to have a fresh body in there.
Absolutely. In this day and age, you're always going to have 2 that can carry the football, and really a third one. You can keep 3 of them relatively happy. It's when you get into the 4th and 5th that playing time becomes a little bit of an issue. And we got Jesse Jenkins back. From San Antonio, Texas, who we redshirted last year, and then a very, very good freshman in Vincent Garcia, and locally Scotty Swin. So we've got some kids back there that will be pretty good with the ball in their hand.
Okay. The guy who touches the ball most is the quarterback. Conrad, he has experience. He has the know-how. He knows how this offense works. He now needs to take care of the little things, throw more touchdowns than interceptions, do the right things. And he's made progress in that regard. What do you want out of him this year?
Well, I think natural progression in terms of making plays and staying away from the negative plays, the very thing you're alluding on. You know, last year I think we threw 15 interceptions and 12 touchdowns, and that's a recipe for disaster from a win-loss standpoint. And we've got to have a much better ratio there, both from his production, what I'm telling him to look at from a coaching perspective. I mean, everything's in play, but once again, experience at any position, particularly quarterback, is so important. And he's a phenomenal human being, as good a person as I've coached, which is a mouthful in 30-some years. So he's a good natural leader, and we're confident he'll have a good year.
He's going to throw to Dallas Greer.
I broke the camera. Okay.
Let's. Dallas Greer is a marked man. Very talented wide receiver. One thing I looked at, those we were talking about numbers just a second ago. He only had 4 touchdowns.
Correct.
Last year, you would. I was really surprised at that number. You would think that would be more. Do you want him to? Obviously, you want him to get more touchdowns. How do you do that?
We want all our guys to get more touchdowns, but call more touchdowns. But one thing is certainly he's drawn a lot of attention defensively, and he should. Part of the job as an offensive play caller is to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers multiple times throughout a game, and that won't change. But I think spreading the ball, being a little more judicious to make an athlete like Dallas even more explosive, calling more shots. One of his strengths, shots are vertical routes down the field. One of his strengths is being able to high point footballs and catch balls down the field. So there's a lot of variables to that, but certainly I would expect him to, if he's, Lord willing, he stays healthy, to be into the double digit from a TD standpoint in 2013.
If he's a marked man, does that really make your other receivers better because they can get the ball more and they may be a little more open?
Absolutely. Just everybody, football 101 opens up interior routes. Brett Nagel, who's 6'5", a legitimate 6'5", big, strong inside athlete. Chico Orlando at a tight end. Hank Jansen will be so proud that we throw the ball to the tight end, son Mr. Bulldog. Our Garrett White was a good receiving threat out of the backfield. Jared Haferbeer out there. Kurt Lloyd certainly will open up other spots of the field.
My guy Chico Orlando seems like, if you look at the word potential in the dictionary, his face would be right. Seems like he has a lot of potential. You just got to get him the ball and stuff every now and then, huh?
Yeah, and he had 24, 25 catches last year, so he had a pretty good year receiving. Once again, you've got so many plays a game and so many athletes to touch it. He's a work in progress. He's going to improve in terms of blocking. Run blocking at tight end, becoming more of a complete player. So he's not just a receiving tight end. And he's a really good threat and a good athlete, good player for us.
Defensively, let's start with the backfield. You got a lot of work to do there, huh? A lot of holes to fill.
You've got, obviously, Garrett White back, Trey Millender, who came out as a number 1 through spring, and A.J. Hartfield, the top 3. You got Jesse Jenkins, along with Vince Garcia, the newcomer, that will push for some playing time as well.
I meant the defensive backfield.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's my fault. You've got some holes to fill.
No, the defensive secondary is the biggest thing for you and I and our fans to keep an eye on. We're turning that over. You've got Stephen Day from the east side of St. Louis, Belleville, Illinois, who's played quite a bit but didn't start at corner. T.J. Fine from Zumwalt West, we think is going to be a very, very fine player, no pun intended. His daddy, Tim Fine, played here in the mid-'80s, was a Mexico boy, a very good player, all-conference player for the Dogs back in his day. So safety-wise, you got Austin Zoda, we've got Kyle Arthot from Hannibal. You've got Luke Lamar. You've got Brady Schroeder. We've moved Paul Taylor and Wes Allen from offense to defense. So we've got some bodies over there, and they played. They did a nice job in spring. So if we can maintain that, we'll feel pretty solid.
The strength of your defense would be?
Front 6. We returned Jeremy Dockery, Brandon Campbell, Nick Reichert from Quincy Notre Dame. All 3 of those interior guys played a ton. Nick Abadi, back from a medical red shirt, is a fantastic playmaker on the edge. Devin Gillespie and Matt Smith, along with Ryan Johnson, played a bunch. And then at linebacker, Connor Nagel, Matt Bell from Marceline, Brad Young from up in Illinois. All those guys have started a bunch of football games, played a bunch of snaps for us.
Okay. Special teams, you got a field goal kicker who could probably set a school record this year. Talk to me about him.
Derek Kuhn, obviously 2 years ago, had a breakout year, breaking a 20-year school and conference record at the time with consecutive field goals with 12. I think he hit 83% 2 years ago, and he slipped last year to 67, 70% range. Was a little inconsistent, certainly by his standards, for one being one of the kickers around. But he had a really dreadful start, and he finished last season much like he kicked in the entire year of the season before. So hopefully he'll pick up where he left off and get just like a first at-bat, getting your first one to go between the uprights. But he'll be a very, very solid kicker. He's great on kickoffs. We've done a great job in kickoff coverage as well. And then you've got locally Jacob Lamp will be our punter, a Kirksville product, and a very strong, fine leg. We're anxious to take the wraps off of him.
He really kicks the ball high, doesn't he?
He's got a great leg.
Yeah.
Jacob does. He's a phenomenal athlete. He could go play receiver or that type of thing and not embarrassing himself.
What else do we have Let's go with just some local kids and go through them. It's nice to get local kids that can play at this level and play for you and play for your program.
Yeah, absolutely. When we start recruiting, Fred, obviously we get players from anywhere that can help us be successful. But we're always going to start right in our own backyard, and anybody that has a passion for competing and the ability to play Division II college football, Truman grades academically, we're anxious to get those kids. And that's one area that we've done a good job in, I think, since we've gotten back is starting in Northeast Missouri region with some of our local talent.
Let's just go down a couple people. Let's start with Cooper Bankus.
Cooper, right now he's trying to improve himself a little bit academically as we speak. But out of last year's class, he was one of the best on the field prospects we have, and learning how to be a student from a collegiate standpoint. So we may not, I don't know how much we'll see him this fall, but he's a great young man and a really good talent. You've got from Kirksville, we talked about Jacob Lamp. We just signed Scotty Swin. From down the road at North Shelby, you've got Dane Kemp, who's going to play a bunch at the fullback position. We've got 3 Hannibal kids now, and Connor Brown, a tight end, Kyle Arthod, and Dalton Powell, who we just signed. Going from memory, shooting off the top of my head. You've got Kurt Lloyd from Mexico, Matt Bell from Marceline, who's a Division I athlete, could be playing at Missouri. Well, Matt was voted captain last spring, and athletically, you never know how kids are going to react going from high school to college, and particularly at a small level, a very good football program, but a small level of high school football. Matt was a diamond in the rough. I've been doing this a long time. He'd be playing at Missouri right now. He's that type of an athlete. He's arguably one of our top 2 or 3 athletes on our entire football team. So, just off the top of our head, scoured some guys, but we just also signed Ethan Decker, a South Shelby kid, transferring from Highland Junior College, who may push. We've had 6 offensive linemen start, and Ethan could be a starter when it's all said and done to give us some depth and another starting potential. So we're very proud of the area kids. And some of them very, very good football players. Nick Reichert and Brad Wellman from Quincy, Notre Dame, just across the river. And Brad is another lineman that we redshirted last year that could start, and Nick we didn't redshirt. So we've been very, very fortunate around the area.
Speaking about going across the river, that's where you're going now, or a lot of way you'll be going across the river in the new conference. Your thoughts about the new conference?
Couldn't be one, and I'm not just saying this because it's the part of the program. I'm an alum. We know that. I've been associated with this university off and on since I graduated in 1980, coming here in '76. So certainly have a long association with the MIAA. But I'm really proud, blessed to be the one that happens to be in charge as we're transitioning to the GLVC. And Fred, I couldn't be more excited. And I mean that sincerely. Recruiting-wise, big question is, are we going to recruit different kids? What's it going to do in recruiting? One, it's not going to do anything different. We're still recruiting the same caliber of athlete, but Illinois, which is part of our natural recruiting base, we're now moving east from a conference affiliation, actually makes it even more natural for us and our alums to kind of reconnect a little bit. That we've got a lot more alums, certainly in Illinois and east, than we do, say, in Kansas or Oklahoma, up to Kearney, Nebraska.
You also have a lot of natural rivals right here in the state of Missouri, which is nice.
Absolutely, and close in Illinois.
Yeah.
Once again, the closest one happened to be Quincy.
I'll get to that in a minute.
All right.
But right here.
No, I mean we've got a same-day trip to William Jewell. You've got Missouri S&T just down the road, McKendree right across the river in St. Louis. So we consider them St. Louis. For us, those are nice, easy trips for us.
And so you got to really, and Quincy will be a natural rivalry. That could be, the Hickory Stick game, and hopefully they'll get the Wolverine Cup.
Yeah.
Or the Nesbitt Cup. What do we do something?
Yeah. Well, don't put my name on it. Once again, Jensen, Wolverine, one of those will be great. But no, naturally, when you got.
But that's a natural rival, and that's a game you're going to have circled.
Absolutely. 65 miles down the road, we see them a bunch in recruiting, and we have since we've gotten here. So both schools will be real excited for that ball game.
preseason, you're ranked third in the conference. It's been a while since the Bulldogs have been third, but just your thoughts about that, and how do you live up to that?
Well, one, whether you're third or 15th in a 15 team, I've once again been doing it a long time. I don't put much thought or credence, and that's not coaching cliche. It's honestly the way I feel. Where you're ranked preseason doesn't matter. We all know that. You're going to have to go out and play the ball games, and each season, each team is unique, and how they evolve. And you're going to have some early season pivotal ball games. You know, last year Fort Hays for us, Washburn were pivotal football games a year ago that didn't go our way, and you know, if you win one or two of those, things change, teams evolve differently. So this will be no different, and I really haven't put much thought into the ranking portion, Fred, and that's being really honest.
You're looking at one key for this year for your Bulldog team, it would be?
We've got to get out of the gate because, you know, the early season, first four ball games, the only game that's a concern for us right now is Southwest Baptist. You're going to follow that up with a great trip to Grand Valley, a national power, a trap game with an NAI school, William Penn, just down the road, who's as a national power and playing a really good football, and the University of Central Missouri. So I think anytime you're turning a program from a confidence level, it's finding some early season success, and this will be no different. And generally week 2 or 3 is when you have some real pivotal ball games that really affect the remainder of your season. So having some early season success, Fred, is really critical for the Dogs.
Finish the sentence. Coaching with your son is?
It's a blessing. As much for my grandson and daughter-in-law, you know, just from a family perspective, it really has been. And the youngest, Ryan, is just down the road at Hickman High calling the defense there. Just got engaged. So we've got a lot of things to be happy about in our family.